Hello, I'd like to welcome each of you to our webinar today, the last one of 2020. And our webinar is on how to develop your 2021 marketing plan. And I've shaken it up a little bit. This is a webinar that I do every year, but we're going to talk about some new strategies for our new normal, because for most of you in marketing, a heck of a lot has changed with this pandemic. So let's get started. I want to first let you know that I did pull together a number of handouts that you have access to through the dashboard. One of them in particular, I really want you to download because it is a fill in the blank version of our 2021 marketing planner. So it's a document that you can engage in. It's a PDF, but you can actually type in the form as a document. And this is really going to help you. This is something we use with our coaching clients, and it's very comprehensive, and I'm going to be referring to it throughout this webinar today. So I also encourage you to use the dashboard and ask questions. I'm sure that you'll have questions, and I will take time at the end of the webinar to address any questions that people have, even if it puts us over just a little bit. So with that, I'd like to just give you a little introduction to who I am. And I looked at the attendee list, and I think a lot of you know me and know Christy and our other business partner, Michelle. But I thought it was important. By the way, this is my pre-COVID look. I'm not sharing my camera today for a reason, okay? But I wanted you to know why I do what I do, because I think when we're out there trying to differentiate ourselves, it's important to think about the passion that you bring to your business. And these are just some of the things that make me feel like I want to get up every single day and work with my clients, both coaching clients and outsource marketing clients. So with that, I'd like to move into what we're going to talk about today. So our agenda for this webinar is we're going to talk about how to step back and assess what you've done in 2020. We're going to look at the components of your 2021 marketing plan. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be referring to the 2021 marketing planner that you have in a downloadable version in the handouts. We're going to talk about the importance of mastering your contacts. Whoops, sorry about that. And then finally, we're going into just a few examples of some of the firms that we work with and have helped do things during the pandemic that have proven to be very successful, very helpful, and have engendered a lot of trust and loyalty with their clients. So we're going to be looking at those also at the end of the presentation. So I'd like to just give you a little bit of background on PSM Marketing. This is a company that I founded in 1997 after spending many years as a law firm marketing director in some large law firms. Right now, and since we founded, our company has always been a virtual company. And that's another thing that's helped us through the pandemic is a lot of our clients are in brick and mortar locations, and they're used to meeting with clients in person. They're used to going out to lunch and networking and happy hours. So it's really been delightful for us to share with our clients how we've been able to make our virtual business model work. In that model, we do both outsourced marketing, where we serve as the marketing department for clients, but we also do marketing coaching, where we work with individuals one-on-one. We work in the legal industry, financial services, contracting, nonprofits, and small businesses. But I want to tell you the thing that makes us most unique, and that is the team of amazing professionals we have. It's such an honor to work with people who know their stuff, who I can trust to work on behalf of our clients. And these are just 12 of the people on our team. We have over 30. And what our resources do is everything from project management and website development to videography, social media, copywriting, website development. We really do it all. We fill that role of serving as a marketing department for our clients who it's just more cost effective for them to work with us on a contract basis. Okay, so as we get started, we're going to talk about the importance of assessing 2020. I think many times it's easy to fall into this, okay, what can I be doing now? What can I be doing next year? Without really stepping back and analyzing what went well and maybe some of the things that didn't go as well as you would have liked in 2020, like let's say the pandemic. So just as a bit of review, the elements of your personal or firm marketing plan are always going to involve these steps. And I say that, but I mean, if you really want to do it right, you want to step back and assess. Then you want to take the results of that assessment and you want to put it into a plan, a proactive plan to meet your goals in 2021. Then you have to commit to implementing your plan. That's usually going to involve a combination of following up with individuals and referral sources and clients, but it's also going to be about implementing projects that you know that you really want to do that are going to help build your reputation in the marketplace and generate business. Then finally, it's important to always measure the results of your activities. This is one of the questions that I answer for clients all the time. If we work with you, how are you going to measure the results? And the answer is there has to be a way to measure the results of anything we do in marketing, or we probably shouldn't do it. So there's another best practice that I'd like to get back in front of you. And I think a lot of you are familiar with this, but all marketing plans should be implemented under what a term I coined many years ago called the 4 pillars of marketing. And I can say that for every type of client, it's important to build your strategy around the 4 pillars. So the first pillar is about retaining and growing relationships with your existing clients, contacts, referral sources. It's really leveraging the best of what you have. Second, it's really critical to look at how you're going to attract new clients now and in the future. There are a lot of professional services firms that are fortunate because their existing clients keep bringing them in to more and more and more work. But I also think it's important that every services firm look at how they're going to establish relationships with new clients and new referral sources. The third pillar of marketing is everything that you do to increase the name recognition and awareness of your firm and of you as a professional. So it includes limited advertising, but a lot of social media, a lot of writing, blog writing, content writing, speaking, writing articles for trade publications. Those are all great ways to increase your name recognition and awareness. And then pillar 4 is creating targeted and effective communications. And I believe that you can have everything going for you, but if you're not communicating with your key target audiences on a regular and consistent basis with information that they view as really relevant, you're missing a big part of your marketing strategy. So at this stage, we're going to jump into the assessment. We're going to jump into what you should be looking at as you ascertain what worked and what didn't in 2020. So the areas that PSM delivers services, but also the areas that we want you to step back and look at are the strategies that you developed for your marketing plan in 2020. We want you to look at every aspect of your website. How's your website working? How do you compare your website to those of your competitors? How has your website been at generating leads for you and converting those leads into clients? What about your branding? When is the last time you really looked at your logo and the look and feel of your firm to decide, yeah, you know, we're maybe lacking there, or maybe we just redid our website and our branding and our logo and we have a fabulous brand. But it's important to step back and assess your branding from the perspective of people who are seeing you for the first time. And then finally, digital. What are you doing digitally with your social media and with other digital mechanisms to grow your practice? Posting on LinkedIn, engaging on LinkedIn. What are you doing digitally right now that's worked well for you in 2020? So let's take a little bit deeper dive on these 4 areas. And by the way, one of my handouts for you is a copy of the PowerPoint slides that you're looking at right now if you want to go back and refer to some of these things. So what I wanted to do is to just make this a little bit more realistic for you, as opposed to just saying, yes, look at your strategy, branding, websites, and digital. But I want to give you some ideas of what that means. Everything from looking at the associations you belong to under strategy, considering your marketing expenses versus the results they generated, looking at your revenue and new clients. How did you get your new clients? It's so important to understand not just that we generated more business, but where did it come from? How did those people hear about us? We also want to look at lead generation and overall processes and systems that you have in place at your firm so you don't always have to be reinventing the wheel. We're looking, as I mentioned, at your logo, in branding, collateral materials, PowerPoints, presentations you've done, public relations, proposals. Many of you are realizing that you are being asked by clients to put a proposal together, and a lot of services firms aren't used to doing proposals, but they're a critical tool for you in terms of a differentiator, as well as conveying the breadth and depth of what you're going to do for a client. We look at advertising. Where have you spent money on advertising and how are you measuring results? We look at messaging and even your color palette and the look and feel of your firm overall. I want you to take a look at your website and try to look at it objectively. Look at the navigation, the design, the content, how easy it is to navigate from point A to point B. Taking a look at whether or not your website is truly focused on your clients versus just being focused on you and what you do and what you offer. It's also important to look at your social media integration as well as SEO. And hopefully you are all doing some level of search engine optimization on your website and have access to Google Analytics. So you can literally see analytically how your website is performing on Google and in Google search rankings. And then of course, digital. Stepping back and saying, how are our blogs? Did we do 2 blogs this year or did we do 20? I think a lot of firms start out with really good intentions, but it's easy to get busy and it's easy to deprioritize some of the things that you wanted to do at the beginning of the year. What about your communications, e-communications that you've been sending to clients and contacts? Or your personal profiles on social media, or if you're a lawyer, Martindale and FindLaw, what have you been doing to keep those current and up to date? Advertising, your client database, and as I mentioned before, really analyzing the readership of your blogs, and you can do that through your search engine optimization and the analytics that support your SEO. So there are a few things to think about, a few other things to think about as you're looking at your assessment of 2020. You really want to step back and say what worked well in marketing and what didn't work. Did I actually meet my revenue goal that I had hoped to achieve in 2020? How would I rate how proactive I was, both with maintaining relationships with my contacts, as well as just various marketing projects that you wanted to accomplish over the course of 2020? How did you measure your return on investment for everything that you did in marketing? And then finally, what do you wish you would have done in 2020? That's fine if you didn't get to it. Let's put it into your 2021 plan. But the most important thing is to commit to yourself that you are going to implement this plan, that you are going to weave marketing through the very fabric of your practice or your business. And what that means is potentially scheduling time on your calendar every day or 3 times a week to just focus on moving your marketing activities forward. Otherwise, I just honestly feel that it's difficult for busy professionals to make marketing a priority. Now, one of the things that I talk to my clients about often, and I think it's worth mentioning, is just having a reminder about what is the difference between sales and marketing, because there's a huge difference, but professional services firms and small businesses need both. So marketing is about the messages that you convey. It's about your website, your branding, your social media. It's about the messages that you put out into the out into the marketplace. Sales is about asking questions. And I had a conversation with a client, a lawyer in New York just yesterday, and he was so concerned about the concept of following up with people that he felt would see right through him if he wanted to schedule a Zoom call with them, that they'll see right through, and that he was going to have to figure out what he was going to say, the sort of the sales pitch. And thankfully, he was relieved to hear that sales is about asking the right questions. It's all about the other person. It's not about a song and dance and a beauty contest and any other euphemisms we've heard about sales in professional services marketing. So the bottom line is that if you're out there trying to do marketing and control your messages without any sales effort, it's really expensive. Think of the law firms that have billboards at the airport, or it's the throw it out there and see what sticks. And then it's just way too expensive to build your brand without the other side of the equation, and that is sales. So while marketing without sales is too expensive, sales without marketing is too hard. And I always have to tell my clients who are lawyers, that whether they want to hear it or not, they really are the sales force. You are the sales force in your business, and you want the marketing activities that you pursue to soften the marketplace so that it's that much easier for you to build those relationships. Why? Because people will know who you are and they will have heard of your firm. So let's move into some of the primary components of your marketing plan. Again, because I do this every year, I try to shake it up a little bit. I don't want it to be boring. So I want to remind you, as we look at the marketing plan, again, this is the handout that I included that you should download and use as a PDF for your own marketing plan. That now is a really good time to get introspective. What does that mean? It means take some time and do your strengths finder. The Gallup organization has a tool that allows you, it's about maybe 45 minutes and $50 to get all 34 of your strengths in order. And the Gallup organization is really good about not saying that you have weaknesses, but I tend to look at my 10 lowest strengths as probably things that I am not as strong in. But this is the time to get introspective over the holidays, before the first of the year. Really step back and figure out what you can be doing in marketing that will tap into your inherent strengths. Another tool that we love to use is a free tool, and it's based on the Myers-Briggs type indicator. And it's the URL for the website is 16, as in 16, personalities.com. It's really fun to take, and this is where you find out what your 4-letter personality preferences are in terms of introversion versus extroversion, sensing versus being intuitive, thinking versus judging, and then perceiving versus no, I said that wrong. But the point is, I'm an ISTJ, and you need to look at what you are so that you can read that analysis. And so many of my clients of late have said, this is just uncanny. I shared it with my wife. I shared it with my spouse, and it sounds like me. So there's a lot you can do to better understand what you really enjoy doing so that you can build your marketing plan around that. So in the document that you're going to download, the 2021 Marketing Planner, one of the most important things you can do is to identify your top clients, because these are the people, not clients, contacts, referral sources. I also gave you a tool called the Contact Action Plan, and I'm going to show that to you in a minute here. But I want you to download that. It's an Excel document, so you can use it, add lines, whatever you need to do to customize it for you. But what it does is it creates a sales pipeline for you of people that you want to stay in touch with. There are opportunities to generate more business from current clients. There are always going to be those prospective clients you'd love to do business with, as well as referral sources, both those who are referring business to you and those that you refer business to. It's always so important to have a mutually beneficial relationship with your referral sources. And it's always a good idea to look at who your best referral sources are and figure out ways to meet more individuals who are like them. Now, the next thing that we do on this contact action plan is we really think about both the criteria. What do my best clients and referral sources have in common? How can we put together a little dossier so that we can look at that and say, you know, there are some commonalities between my very, very best contacts and those that maybe don't turn out to be the greatest clients. But then on a different level, and on this spreadsheet, you have the ability to determine, is this contact really an A-level client, which means they'll be happy to hear from you. You know them, you like them, maybe they're friends, but either way, they're going to be happy to hear from you and you already have a really good relationship with them. And then there are the B contacts, and the B contacts are people that you just don't feel quite as comfortable with, or you know they're great contacts, but you're going to start with the A contacts, right? Because those are going to be easier for you as you start doing some outreach to maintain and grow those contacts. So next, you want to look at your clients. You want to look at who you're doing business with right now. This is part of the assessment in a way that feeds into the planning component, which is who did I work with last year? What types of clients? Were there industries in common? What types of clients did I serve? Because by and large, each one of those audiences needs to have its own little mini marketing strategy. You don't market to association members the same way you would market to educators. I mean, that's just an example, but every audience is different. And the key to your success in 2021 is being able to take the target audiences you have and convey the unique messages that differentiate you with that audience. Generic marketing just doesn't work. To say that you're a commercial litigator, well, that's not enough. You need to go deeper than that. You need to really specify what it is you do. Now, the reason that I mention this is because it's important to think about how you can come up with a niche. And a niche is going to truly differentiate you as the professional of choice within that niche area. Sometimes people don't want to think about having a niche because they think they're going to preclude attracting clients in other areas. But everything from blog writing and search engine optimization and website content is going to be much better received if you're focusing on what you do best and where you would like to get clients in the future. And then once you have your niche identified, it becomes easier for you to determine what messages you have that truly do make you the unique butterfly that you are. So remember that when you're defining your niche, it's about where you have visibility. You have a lot of visibility. You have a ton of credibility and people see you already as the expert. It's about having that deep-seated knowledge and experience in a particular area. And then you have a niche. And people who develop and augment and communicate using their niche messages are much more likely to generate business because they know who they are and they know who they're not. And let me just say that you're still always going to get the work that would have come to you anyway, but having a niche makes it that much easier for your clients and referral sources to really figure out, yes, this is the person I want to work with. They're the go-to person. They have the most credibility, knowledge, visibility, experience of anyone I know. And that, I say, is what you should be aspiring to with your marketing plan. So as you create your marketing plan, one of the really important things to do is to create some very specific and measurable marketing objectives. What is it that you want to accomplish? Of course, the objectives in this marketing planner that I've given you are all about the 4 pillars of marketing. So what are you going to do with regard to your client satisfaction and client service, developing referral source relationships? There's a space in that document for you to identify your specific and measurable objectives. Make sure you tie dates to those objectives. Make sure you tie revenue numbers to those objectives. Just the process of writing them down brings you that much closer to achieving those objectives because you're really thinking about it. It isn't just, yeah, I really want to develop more revenue. Well, that's not enough. You have to back into it with what area do you want to develop this revenue and how much revenue do you want to develop? We're going to get into this in a couple of slides about how to determine your real business development goal. But then as you move into your new business, it's about what can you do during this pandemic to maintain your presence by networking and doing some targeted outreach and looking at whether or not you should have a proposal. Market research is another great tool to use during the pandemic because as you're going through your contacts, you want to step back and look at their LinkedIn profile, do a Google search for their name. See what you can uncover about the people that you really want to build relationships with. One of the best ways to build new business is to become a member of a trade association that attracts your prospective clients. I know that sounds logical, but there's still a lot of people who don't do that. Talk to your clients, see where they spend their professional time, see if they'll introduce you to the executive director. Again, everything is being done on Zoom or whereby, but you can still move forward with all of these new business development activities. It's just in a different way. Increasing your name recognition is always something that's worthy of your time and energy. This is where you're looking at public relations, maybe getting an article published, maybe being positioned to a member of the media as someone they would talk to about an important story and then quote in that publication. It's about your community involvement. Again, I know it's a little bit harder to go out and be a volunteer, but community involvement is so important because it shows that you're a well-rounded human being, that you're not just a worker. There's a firm in town, I won't mention the firm, but their tagline, if you can even believe this, I don't think there's anyone from this firm on the call or I wouldn't say it, but their tagline is, all we do is work. Who wants that? Clients want to see that you have other interests in your life other than just work. And it's also about taking a more active role on social media. We do a lot of social media for our clients, and what that means is we go out and we curate and find content that links to articles that their clients would be interested in, and it also links people back to the content and blogs on our clients' websites. But I also want to mention how important it is, even if you have someone helping you with some of your firm-wide social media, to up your game a little bit, whether it's on LinkedIn, Facebook, or any other social media site that you've sort of dabbled with. Because what we found is that the posts that get the most engagement are the posts that come from you personally, and they're about personal things. They're about, hey, we have a new puppy, or something fun and family oriented. And if there's one thing I've noticed during this pandemic that has changed significantly, it's the way in which we're able to get to know the people in our network, the people that we're working with in a little different way. When you're on a Zoom call or you're on a whereby call with someone and you look at their background and they've got pictures of their family and, or you can see into their living room. I know that sounds sort of creepy, but I'm also noticing that a lot of people during the pandemic are being more real. They're not having to dress to the nines in pumps, pantyhose, and three-piece suits, but rather they're chilled out a little bit. And I think it just really creates a whole different environment for doing your marketing. People don't have to commute. Very few people are going into offices if their jobs and their industries allow them to work from home. They are by and large working from home. And it's just fun to see my clients in a different way, to see them sort of casual. They're still just as committed to the marketing we're doing, but again, the point is, don't be afraid to share yourself, a little bit more of yourself as you're building your name recognition and awareness. And then finally, targeted communications. This is where you determine, how am I going to communicate with my clients? How often? What am I going to say? And this can also come from your niche messages. The very best communications are targeted. And sure, you can send something out to everyone on your database that's about sort of a year in review. Here's what we've been doing as a company or as a firm. But think about the most effective communications being the ones that are going to target specific content to only the people that you think will be interested in receiving that content. The targeted nature will make people really engage with your content. Another tip I have for you, and the marketing planner provides ample space for you to do this, but remember that results sell. And to the extent that you're marketing a nebulous, intangible service, you need to show clients that you've done what they need. So we've given you space in the marketing planner to identify, and I've also, by the way, I also put a little worksheet in there, just a sort of some background information on what you should include in your representative experience. That's another thing that you can download. But you want to focus on the type of client. You want to focus on what the issue or problem was that that client was having. Then, importantly, you do a couple sentences about your approach to their problem or issue, finally, or opportunity. And then finally, you want to let people know what the result was. And this prevents you from ever having to say, well, let me tell you about how great I am and the work I've done and the fame and notoriety I've achieved. That is not something you should ever have to do. So let your representative experience say it for you. So what do you do with your representative experience? You put it on your website. You can add it to your LinkedIn profile. You can include it on other profiles that you have out there, whether it's your Super Lawyers or Find Law or any other profiles or directories that you're participating in. Now, I alluded to this before, but it's really important to put some dollars to your goals. It's not enough to just say, okay, I want to generate more revenue this year. Pick a number. Look at what you did this year and increase it by 20%. Pick the number that's right for you. Now, the cool thing about this particular tool in the handout is that it's spreadsheet based, so it will calculate for you. So you want to pick that revenue goal for next year. You want to look at what you've generated in revenue over the past couple of years and then what you're projecting for this year. Now, you can do this by type of industry, by type of client, by specific names of clients that you're already working with, because chances are you're not going to just go cold turkey the end of December and you're not going to have any revenue or any business. There will be carryover revenue for you. And it's important that you identify what you're projecting for next year's revenue with these clients and contacts so that you calculate next year's revenue will calculate for you. Then it'll determine, this tool will determine, well, what's the gap? What's the variance? You want to generate this, your goal is this. Here's the actual revenue you need to generate to achieve your goal. And I feel it just makes your marketing efforts that more tangible to tie everything you're doing to the revenue that you want to generate. So let's move into that next really important area. They're all important, and I probably say that too much, but your contacts are the bread and butter of your business, of your practice. And you need to look at how you are proactively dealing with the best contacts, clients, referral sources that you have so you can continue nurturing those relationships in a genuine and authentic way. So I've also given this document to you as a handout. It's just a simple spreadsheet, but let me just walk through why it's important. I didn't include the whole thing. So there's current clients, prospective clients, industry groups. You can tailor this to whatever makes sense for you. But the most important thing is that this gives you a place to identify the person, their position, the organization, what type of work you want to generate. But go back to the second column. This is where you have the opportunity, once you get all of these people in your contact action plan, to say, all right, this is an A, this is a B, this is a B, this is an A. And guess what you do? You start with the A's because they're the safe people that you feel most comfortable with. And I'll tell you, the very most important part of this whole document is the last column on the right, next steps. What are you going to do? I tell my clients all the time that there always has to be a next step. If there isn't, you leave a meeting with someone where they're promising that they're going to send work to you, they're going to call you, they're going to refer you to their clients. And then guess what happens? They get busy, you get busy, and then you realize, my gosh, it's been 6 months and I haven't even heard from this person who loves me so much and was going to send me all this work. So I tell my clients that you always have to have a next step, so that when you're talking to someone, before you get off the call with them, you say, hey, what do you think let's reconnect again in another couple months, or how about we schedule a lunch outside for when the weather gets nicer? And then note that, make sure that you're always looking at what's the next step, because if you have a client or a contact on this contact action plan that doesn't have a next step, they're probably going to just fade away. And we don't want that, because the only people who belong on this contact action plan are your true top contacts, not 85 or 100 people. We're talking about 20 or 30 that you're going to include on this contact action plan and build your marketing plan around. So let's talk about a couple of the tools. And I mentioned these in my last webinar, but I just want to briefly mention them again because they make all the difference in being able to stay in touch with your contacts. So the first one is a Pointlet. This is a program that syncs with Microsoft Outlook or with Gmail. And what you do is you basically set up the different types of appointments that you want to offer. You integrate your Zoom room or your Whereby room or GoToWebinar, whatever video conferencing you're using. As you set up a meeting, each one of these meetings that I've set up is tied to an actual link, so that the person will just go to that link and there will be talking in person to one another using video conferencing. So you have unlimited opportunities if you buy the, I think it's $10 a month version of a Pointlet. But it really makes it easy when you're trying to schedule with someone. And there's nothing worse than saying, how about Thursday at 2 o'clock? And they say, no, how about Friday, Tuesday, or Thursday of next week at this time and that time? You waste so much time trying to schedule appointments. And this really, really solves that. As I mentioned, it's integrated with whatever video conferencing service you use. But in this time of COVID and the pandemic, it's so important that you have a way to reach out to people personally. Phone calls just don't do it. You might have people who are shy or they don't want to show themselves on camera, but for the people you're really trying to build relationships with, you want to look at them and you want to look at them in the eye, and you want to be able to have that conversation with them. As we've all heard, 90% of what you say isn't in the words, it's in your body language. So being able to have a video conference with someone where you can see their body language, it feels like you're there with them. And I'm sure all of you have probably had more video conferences than you ever thought you'd have in your life. But a final note on the video conference activity is just how important it is to set yourself up so that you're presenting a crisp, clear image of yourself. You're well lit. This is a ring light. It's a great tool. You can set it so that it makes you look the best you can look with the warm or cool lighting, but it's an even lighting. So I encourage you to look into these ring lights. Have a nice microphone so that there isn't an issue as to whether or not people can hear you or it's tinny. Invest in a nice digital camera. And these are your tools. These are now your tools. Where you used to need a meals and entertainment budget to take people out for lunch and to movies and to sporting events, now you need to have the best tools you can to have video conversations. Another tool that I think is really helpful is Boomerang. And I've mentioned this before, but I want to mention it again. It integrates with your inbox, whether it's Outlook or Gmail, and it gives you the ability to do what I was suggesting and always have a next step. So when you send someone an email and you say, here's my appointment link, let's get together for another call in a couple of months. Well, you can Boomerang that email so that on a day and a date and a time that you choose, it boomerangs back to you. So you're not going to lose the fact that maybe this person hasn't gotten back to you yet. It's just a way to maintain the continuity of a relationship. It's simple, and maybe there's a fee for it. If there is, it's really nominal, but I highly encourage you to do that so you can stay on top of these important relationships you're building. So the last 5 minutes or so, as we're preparing to close here, I thought it would be important to show you some of the specific activities that we've done for clients. Some of these were earlier in the pandemic, but I want to share some of the things that really worked well, because remember, perception is reality. So let's take a look at a wonderful strategy that one of our clients, Stephen Edmonds Miller, did at the very beginning. They realized there are people who have criminal issues, who have criminal records, and they've been laid off from their job. And so what this firm did was to offer free expungement, a free criminal expungement, which means it's off your record and no one will ever know, to anyone who was affected by COVID-19. We put together a whole process using our survey tool to determine if the people who were interested really qualified or not. And what ended up happening is that while the firm did a few free expungements, they also brought attention to the fact that, yeah, I really want to get this charge expunged from my record. So they generated revenue from people who saw this campaign, not to mention the fact that it absolutely increased significantly by at least 1,000 unique visitors per month, the traffic to their website. So it bridged a gap when people were wondering, especially in criminal defense and some of the consumer areas, when people are on lockdown, they're not really out drunk driving and they're not out, committing criminal offenses. So we had to be creative about this, and it was very, very successful. Then another client that we have, see, a lot of this is perception, right? So we had to create the perception that this family law firm had a virtual law office, that we were able to deliver all of our services in a touchless environment. And the truth is, we had to make a few tweaks, but a lot of the family law activities are fairly touchless anyway. But by focusing on the fact that we have a virtual law office, it was really beneficial for this client. And then corollary to that, and on top of that, we helped the same client create e-divorce. Now it's a touchless service. Everything you meet in our conference room, our virtual conference room, we work on the documents, everything is touchless. And that was a big differentiator in the earlier days of the pandemic. And I think people now that we're seeing this ridiculous, horrible resurgence are even happier that they can do some of the services that they had done in the past or wanted to do in a touchless environment. And then there are just a few other things. For example, at our company, we decided early on last February that we were going to create a COVID-19 marketing toolkit. We have 15, 16 different blog posts. They are all very specific to how you conduct yourself on a video conference, how to build relationships during COVID in a safe and effective way. We also have a law firm client who did this before PSM started working with them, but they created pandemic resources. And when they did this, I mean, they created content. They did multiple webinars on topics like PPE and what you can do to get your business through the pandemic. And that was really helpful for them. And a lot of clients attended those webinars. Even something as simple as being able to say, we are open during COVID-19. There was a time in the beginning where people were like, I don't even know if I can call my lawyer or my financial advisor. Are they even open? Are they going to the office? So that was an important part of marketing and communications, is letting people know that we are open for business. We may be doing business a little bit differently, but we are open. And the last example is, again, something we put on a client's website to reassure the website visitors and their clients that we're here. The most important thing to us is your health and your safety, but we're still here to help you. I had so many lawyers who started doing, now it's a term of art, Zoom court. And I think one of the things they realized was, wow, I can go into a conference room and do my appearance in 15 or 20 minutes and be done with it. versus driving to the courthouse and parking, spending all that time waiting, doing your 15-minute appearance, and then having to drive back to your office. So I think in some ways there are processes and procedures that have really benefited and have realized, wow, we can do it this way. And I think without the pandemic, I don't know if those things would have ever happened, having it be okay to do a court appearance over Zoom. But let me tell you, it's happening now. So I want to leave you with a message from one of my very favorite philosophers, because this affects and impacts everything you do in marketing. Now, I have to tell you, I was having a hard time finding a picture of my favorite philosopher as an adult, so I decided that I could come up with a baby picture. I hope you're okay with that. So the thought is, do or do not, there is no try. And if people say I'm going to try, it just doesn't really hold much water. The choice is yours to determine whether or not you're going to take your marketing to the next level, go through some of the things that we've discussed in this webinar, and achieve greatness in 2021. I believe that you can, and I hope you do as well. So with that, I'm going to, isn't Baby Yoda just the cutest? I'm sorry, I love him. And I did have a picture before of old, crotchety looking Yodas. So let's open the floor for some questions. I am taking a look to see. Wow, I don't see any questions yet. So I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to see if there's anything that you're curious about. While I'm waiting to see if anyone has any questions, I want to mention that if you stay on the webinar, you're going to be directed to an evaluation. It's also going to be in the follow-up email that you receive from us. But what I really want you to do is give us your feedback, because we're in the position right now, Christy, Michelle, and I, of planning our webinars for 2021. And we really want to cover the topics that you're interested in. So I hope that you will stay on the call and respond. We haven't published our webinar schedule yet for 2021, but we certainly will very, very soon. So I do have one question, and the question is this: in a professional service firm, is it best to have a person doing marketing and another doing sales, or is it better for this to be the same person? Well, interestingly, most professional services firms have the honor of the professionals themselves being the salespeople. Now, I think it can be really important for firms that have quite a few professionals to have a marketing department or to have a marketing function that's responsible for the messaging, the website, the communications, the branding, the social media, that the people who are softening the marketplace for you, so that when you as a professional are out there building relationships, they know they know who you are. And I think that's really important because, as we know, it's hard to sell services if people are like, oh, I've never heard of you. How long has your firm been around? Oh, 22 years. You don't want that to happen. So I think I have another question here. Hang on one second. All right. So there's another question. What is the number one thing that I can do to improve my marketing? And I understand we're a couple minutes over, and if some of you have to leave, I understand that too, but I do want to get to these questions. So what is the number one thing you can do to improve your marketing? The number one thing you can do is to commit to yourself that you're going to market. That sounds silly, but I think where a lot of activities fall away or fall through the cracks is that people don't commit to implementing. They might have some inspired time over the holidays where they're thinking, I'm going to do this or do that, but then they don't commit to actually doing it. So it's whatever you can do to focus and hold yourself accountable. That's why we do marketing coaching, because not everyone can do this for themselves. So I think that's a really important thing to think about as you're looking at your marketing plan. So again, I really want to thank you. One of the things that I'm also including in the evaluation is a link to my Pointlet. So if there's something a question that you think of after the webinar, you can click that link and you can schedule a 15-minute call with me. And we can chat about whatever it is you want to talk about, your biggest challenges or something you want to try and you want to run it by someone like me. I'm happy to do that. So that is also a question in the evaluation. So with that, I really want to thank each of you for taking your time to attend. I hope this was helpful. I hope the handouts are helpful and that during the course of this webinar, you've been able to download them. They aren't available after the webinar, so you can also email me and let me know if there's something that you weren't able to download that you wanted. But with that, again, thank you so much for attending. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. And we look forward to offering some fabulous webinars for you and your practice and your business in 2021. Thank you.